Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
A very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host Edmond Chiz. Tonight on Spectrum we are reviewing the week. Our guests, Mr. Jude Mbabali, former parliamentary contestant for Bukoto Central, also member of the Democratic Party National Council. You're most welcome, Mr. Mbabali.
Thank you so much, sir.
We also have Mr. Nicolas Opiyo, a legal consultant at AKIJUL and a human rights activist and political analyst. You're most welcome, Mr. Opiyo.
Well, thank you very much, Edmond. I'm very glad to be seated right next to Mr. Jude Mbabali. I'm excited. I hope that some of the benefits will rub off me.
All right. We also expect, you'll explain later, we also expect to be joined by Honorable Kamya, President of the Uganda Federal Alliance. We'll announce when she comes. Tonight, what are we going to be looking at? We'll look at the headline stories of the week. One, this strike by the teachers and what is going to happen after they ended their strike today. Uganda-Rwanda relations after President Museveni begins a historic 4-day state visit. There's normally a difference between an official visit and a state visit. This is a state visit where champagne and other things are supposed to be high on the agenda. We have Mr. the Mbabali-Ssekandi court drama. Mr. Mbabali, who's with us here in the studio, withdrew a court case against the vice president. We'll talk about that.
I'm sure this is the first time he's discussing this, in a radio talk show.
No, I've been to CBS, I've been to many radios in Masaka.
All right, so we'll talk about those and other issues tonight. Let's start with the teachers' strike. Mr. Opiyo, UNATU has called off a teachers' strike, which was organized to push for better remuneration after meeting the president at State House yesterday and last night. A ministerial committee has been put in place to review the current budget and propose possible areas of reallocation to cater for the teachers' demands by the 28th of next month. Now, the president has in the recent past indicated that the teachers' demands for a 100% pay rise, that's a doubling of their salary, is not achievable. Government says that there could also be many ghost teachers, so they say they need to clean up the register so they can save some money. Do you think the teachers will get something out of this, Mr. Opiyo?
Well, Edmond, let me start by saying this, that I share the plight that many teachers in this country, including my very own mother, suffer because of very poor conditions of work, because of very poor remuneration that they get, both in the private and the ones who are in public service. I think that the teachers in this country have gotten a raw deal, and I think deserve a lot better than that. The days when children would yearn to become teachers are long gone, because now teachers have become an epitome of poverty in many parts of this country. Failure. I mean, my very own father became a teacher in the 1940s, and he was very proud to be a teacher. He was the guy who stood out in the community. He had the best chair in his house. He had the best plates in his house. He had a very good bicycle that nobody in the village had. That time is long gone. Teachers are now a symbol of poverty. If you want to, in fact, in my town of Gulu, there are these funny structures that every poor guy in the trading center builds, which is slanting at about 45 degrees with their small bricks. That house, that kind of house, is now called Naponyukajo, that the teacher is annoyed. He also wants to show that he has a house. Right. So you can see that teachers have become a definition of poverty in this country. But the teacher's plight, for me, is a reflection of the bigger problem in civil service in our country. It is not just teachers. The police, for example, I have had a chat with many policemen, and then if they were allowed to go on the streets and actually demonstrate, they would have gone a long time ago.
Preferably without their guns.
Yeah, because the public service sector in this country are very, very poorly paid people. People are earning salaries that are not reflective of the economic condition in this country. And I think that we need to resolve this problem as a sector problem, not as a specific problem of teachers. Because if you give teachers a pay rise today, okay, you're going to have to deal with people in the medical profession. You're going to have to deal with people in the police. You're going to have to deal with many other people. So I think the question of teachers' remuneration should be addressed within the wider context of the reforms in public service remuneration, because addressing it piecemeal will not solve the problem. Secondly, I think that we need to get away from the system in which we think that everything can be solved by the president. I mean, you're going to get to a stage where if couples quarrel, they will go to the president.
Right.
In essence, this practice undermines state institutions.
It's been working for us. Borders have a problem, they go to the president. You told her, they go to the
Well,
president.
cumulatively, it is going to cause a problem for this country, where the president will only sit there as a local council one, solving people's problems. I don't think that the head of state should be doing that. I think the best thing for us to do is to respect its institutions and empower them to be able to sort out problems that arise in their small sectors, because the president has got bigger things to think about, not things such as salaries, things such as people's benefits. I think we need to move away from that and begin to have a structured way of handling some of these things, and move away from the essence of having every government department, by the way, has a seat in State House. So
is that so?
Yes, I can tell you. You have a desk officer for the Ministry of Forestry, you have a desk officer for the Ministry of Education.
Yes.
So you have almost a shadow reflection of the state institution.
So the kind of cabinet.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that is,
in the past they used to call it a kitchen cabinet, but I'm not saying there's one there.
It is unhelpful, and I think it undermines state institutions and should stop. And that should not be encouraged. I think that the teachers, they have met the president not once, not twice. This is one of the many times they've met the president. Meeting the president will not sort out the long-term problems that the teaching profession in this country is facing. We need to have a sector review of the entire civil service, because that, by the way, is the reason why people in civil service are very corrupt.
Oh.
Yes.
Why?
I can tell you. I'll give you an example. I have got a friend of mine, colleague of mine,
yes,
a former schoolmate of mine,
yes,
who works at a ministry as an accounts assistant.
Yes.
His salary at the end of the month is 180,000 shillings.
Yes.
He has a wife with 3 children,
right,
who go to schools here in Kampala. He's renting a 2-bedroom house. If you go by his earnings, it is not enough.
It in half a day.
He has no other business. His work is to wake up in the morning
and go to work,
come back at 5 for the state. But this guy is managing his family. How does he do that? You've got to make the difference by cutting corners. You've got to make the difference by actually extorting money from
the Bible says, do not muzzle an ox as it treads the grain. Some people also say, man eateth where he worketh. In the interest of time, we've just been joined by Mr. Fred Bamwine, former RDC Nakawa. You must welcome Mr. Bamwine.
Just thank you very much, and good evening, listeners.
Just before I leave my point, he will answer his category issue. But I think the other thing that needs to be addressed is that teachers, people in the civil service, are not blind to the fact that people who are appointed in political offices like RDCs,
like Mr. Bamwine,
used to, and they earn a lot more than professional people who groom this country. The disparity in salaries, in earnings, in remuneration and benefits between people who actually hold this country and people who are quote-unquote politicians is so high. You've got to bridge that gap.
Even RDCs hold this country. They grow in this country as well.
Not more than teachers do.
Mr. Mbabali, before we come to Mr. Bamwine, yes, is it something that you think is going to be resolved? They met the president, so he's sent out his word. The mouth of the president has spoken. Do you think things will get better? They'll get 500,000 starting from September, maybe.
Thank you very much. This is an important issue, and I thank my colleague. He has ably given us the introductory remarks. I have a few points to make, but very important points. One of the points I want to make is the fact that the president is meeting teachers. The president is trying to solve problems personally. It is very sudden.
No, in his official capacity.
No, we have institutions. We have the Ministry of Education. This is the work of the Minister for Education, simple and clear. Then he reports to the boss. But why is it that exactly? Why is it that whoever has a problem goes to the president? The drivers went to the president. The university lecturers went to the president. The people in Bukoto Central who want a constituency.
Even the market women.
Exactly. So why is the president taking on everything himself? So that means we have no institutions in our country to solve problems.
Right.
That means the president is patronizing everything. He wants to control each and every sector, which is very unfortunate. The teaching profession used to be one of the most admired professions, especially in the 60s and 70s. Now when you talk of pursuing a career in teaching, people will laugh at you.
They walk
In
out.
fact, it's also fail exams who end up going to teaching.
Exactly.
Schools.
So why is this so? Because the government has a bad policy,
Right.
a bad education policy. Now, what would be my advice? Because I can see Dr. Muyinga has joined the Ministry of Education with a lot of vigor, with a good experience. But the system and the policy in place, the education policy, is poor. I don't think he's going to do anything, and the end is going to be looked at as a failure. So I think the problem is with administration. Government must change its policy. Government must increase. If it's 100 increase, let it be, because any country to develop politically, any country to develop economically, it must have a sound education system.
Mr. Bamwine.
But just to point out,
Thank you so much.
What does that article say?
Just to point out very briefly, if I may, Article 168 enumerates the functions of the Education Service Commission, and among them is to review terms and conditions of service.
Okay. Mr. Bamwine.
I want to first and foremost thank my colleagues who are here for what they have managed to put across. But one, I want to say that the strike of teachers and their agitation, to me, as one of those revolutionaries
Who fought for the peace of this country.
and as one of those who bother to know the concerns of the population, I support them to agitate for their rights. That's very fundamental. But I think in marketing there's what we call branding and packaging.
Yes.
That's the most important.
Yes.
Because if you're a teacher, or for instance a doctor, there are what we call ethical conducts of different professions. I think where I disagree with the teachers is the packaging. Because if they had done this last year, December, November,
During holidays.
before the budget,
Right.
their concerns would be very much
Addressed.
But why do you wait for people
because
to strike?
But the strikes before,
Can I
nothing
first
like
deal
that.
with my-
Please go ahead.
because,
Go ahead.
because what I know, there's what you call a budget process.
Yes.
And like the teaching profession, their component is not a small figure. Just think about that, it will happen. It has a lot of budget implications. It has a lot of effects on the economy. Therefore, you may find that their demands are genuine, but I think the way they are packaged and the timing, it may be a problem.
So how should we wait?
I'm really sorry about this.
But to me,
I can't help but intervene.
But to me, I go beyond the teaching. Actually, my position is that all government public officers, the teachers, the doctors, the civil servants,
Police.
the police, all of them, their pay does not commensurate with, first of all, with the work and the current economic conditions.
Yes.
Therefore, there is a need to have an overview or a review for the salary structure.
Right.
And actually, for instance, I concur with somebody who mentioned about people who get higher pays when actually they have similar qualifications with others. I am of the same view.
Some
need to have
some even lower than teachers, like MPs.
uniform payments or government officers. I'm one of those who are uncomfortable, for instance, with the judiciary, with the legislature, to be the only institution in the country that can, as and when, agree its emoluments, and nobody has the right to stop them. We must be cautious about that.
Right.
Therefore, we need, to me, I think we need to have a board or a commission which should review all the service structures
Public service?
within the government, which can review all the,
We already have
all
one
the
public
payments.
service.
Yeah, but you
Service
see,
Commission.
no, you see the mandate of the Public
it dead?
Service Commission does not have a right, for instance, to look into parastatals. Parastatals are,
Well, but there's a broad spectrum.
are assumed, for instance, to be autonomous. Me, I think, if it is, we are talking of VRA, we are talking of water, all government institutions, people should be remunerated according to their qualifications, and there should be no double standards.
Okay,
I have heard my colleagues, they talk about why should the president solve this. I concur with them to ask that question. But I have one issue to say. I don't know whether they are aware that we have a presidential system of governance. Why should the president ask for a vote from every Ugandan?
Then why do we
Once you have every Ugandan voting for the president, he has the right to be listened by the president.
Is that a vote of no confidence in his
And once he is addressing these issues, he's not addressing them as Museveni, he's addressing them as a president who was elected by the whole population.
Is that a vote of no confidence in his own ministers?
If you feel this is because it is an confidence with the president, then
we change the system.
you can change the constitution and adapt maybe parliamentary system.
We should then have
As long as every person has the right to vote for the president, therefore the president has the right to listen to everybody.
Let's move forward.
And that's why he has been maybe winning consistently the hearts of everybody.
Mr. Bamwine, the president is in Rwanda.
Have
In
the
the past, President Museveni is meeting with Paul Kagame and on a state visit, 4-day state visit. That's a long visit by any standard. Relations in Uganda, between Uganda and Rwanda, have been frosty in the past, but we have a strong background. Some of them were here. I won't mention the detail. It's not very diplomatic. But now the things seem to be getting better. We had a fight in Kisangani a couple of years ago. Are things better now?
But I don't know whether you are in order.
Talk about Kisangani.
I would say there was no fight in Kisangani.
The Uganda have a problem. Uganda vita that brothers can fight, but they don't remove relations. All these are African countries. And even if they were not African, if we can have the courtesy still to be talking to the British, who colonized us for all that time and plundered this country, then what about our brothers here? So I think the president of Uganda is visiting Rwanda as a country in its own right, and of course, in such a visit, the most important thing is to market Uganda in Rwanda, and at the same time pick what we don't have in Uganda,
like clean streets.
I am saying
some of the
what we have we don't have here, and then we come and implement it. Yes, and also at the same time, diplomatically, of course, tying the further knots. Remember, this time we are with Rwanda in the East African community.
That's very
we are
true.
in one region,
And in the
and at the same time, Rwanda has been applying to be member of the Commonwealth. I'm not yet informed whether they have been admitted yet. Now, then we're also talking of having one African country. So we still have a lot to share with Africa, with Rwanda as a country, and therefore this visitation, I think,
highly welcome.
Not only highly welcome, but has been delayed. It's overdue. The earlier it has come, the better for this country, and I think all Ugandans should embrace it, so that we can harness all the good things in Rwanda, and at the same time also Uganda can be able to market our products in Rwanda. And that's how we can.
Some of the outstanding things in Rwanda: clean streets, no garbage in the street. And
unfortunately, I've not been in Rwanda.
If you're still in Rwanda, you are.
But what I know, Rwanda is one of the African states whereby we have strong ties with it.
No, it's good. It's very good that President Museveni is visiting Rwanda. Of course, we need a good neighborhood between Uganda and Rwanda. And for me, this drives me to one point. You know, Kagame is a younger president. Museveni is an old president. Many people believe, and actually scientists have discovered, that younger people are better leaders because they are energetic, they are focused, they are creative, and leadership is about those good characters. President Kagame, being young, being energetic, he has tried to develop his country at a very fast rate. And actually, when you go to Rwanda, you see Rwanda is developing at a very fast rate. And you may not think it is Rwanda. You know, Rwanda has just recovered from genocide, from war.
True.
And sincerely, Kagame has fought corruption. People are very committed. When the citizens pay their taxes, they are reflected in the development, in the infrastructure. Sure. There is will to ensure that the country develops by the populace.
Just like in Botswana. Of course, you mentioned the issue of age. In Europe, the average age for a president is much lower than in Africa. We seem to favor old men. But it's not the golden rule. There are exceptions. Ronald Reagan, one of the best performing US presidents, was an old man, same as Winston Churchill, I think. Mr. Opiyo.
Edimon, good relations between neighboring countries is a given. And I don't see why we should even discuss the reason for the visit in the first place, because it is demanded because of the nature of state relations. For me, what I think should be important is what we can achieve from that visit. What is the intention of the visit?
What can we get out of it?
This visit coming at a time when relations between...
appeals to Rwanda or what?
The visit coming at a time when there has been a tendency to dip back into the bad relations days between Uganda and Rwanda.
What do you mean?
Following the death of Kano Muzora.
Yes.
Comes at a time when we think that there's an attempt to resolve this problem.
And the Kayumba Nyamwasa.
Remember the Minister of Internal Affairs publicly mentioned that he had summoned the foreign envoy in relation to the death of Kano Muzora. The Rwandan ambassador came out very clearly and said, we haven't been summoned, tell us why, who has been summoned. Up to now, we don't know who was summoned. So I think in the first place it's an attempt to sort out that tendency that we were driving back to the bad days of Kisangani when Rwanda and Uganda were still seen in very bad light. Secondly, speaking about teachers, I hope that President Museveni's visit to Rwanda will help him learn from Rwanda the good things that Rwanda has done to make their teaching profession very attractive. Because we know for a fact that many Ugandan teachers are going into Rwanda because of better terms of conditions. So I think that President Museveni has to learn from President Kagame what has been done to make the teaching profession, to make the civil service there more efficient. But also thirdly, President Museveni will take part in the Rwanda monthly, clean up exercise.
The Umuganda.
Yeah, Umuganda.
Where they go out and clean the street.
Yes, he's going to take part in the cleaning.
I was there. I never took part, but I watched them.
I hope he learns from the experience of Rwanda, from the systems in Rwanda, on how to keep a clean country.
One. What else can he learn from that?
Secondly, he has to learn things about management of state affairs.
What do you mean?
I mean, not everybody queues up. Not everybody queues up to go to the state house in Rwanda to solve problems. There are ministers delegated, trusted by the head of state, but sort out problems. But
the constitution, the methods of voting are different in those countries. We are talking about parliamentary.
Thirdly and more importantly, President Museveni visited Kagame at a time when he has declared that he wants to amend the constitution to extend his term of office. He has actually told his party to look for a successor. I hope he learns the transition from being a head of state to being a post-head of state.
But not everything in Rwanda will be copied.
We have to go for those which are important.
He's got to learn from him about that.
Thank you for coming to the executive suite, madam. My name is Richard, your executive banker, and I'm here to handle all your banking needs.
Oh, really? Thank you. I noticed you don't have any queues here.
No, Mrs. Asio, we do not.
Oh, wow. You even know my name?
But of course, madam. Today we are offering you a current account with a Gold Visa debit card, home loans with attractive rates, Gold Visa credit cards, and unsecured personal loan.
All that for me?
Yes. In addition, we can offer you internet banking so that you can access our services from anywhere, even your home.
Oh, this is too much. What else will you give me now? Chai?
Experience executive banking at Stanbic Bank.
Excuse me, madam. Your cup of chai?
Ask about executive banking at your nearest branch or visit our executive banking suite in Nakasero Towers, Forest Mall at Lugogo, Garden City, Ntinda, Makerere, Mbarara, Mukono, Mbale, Lira and Gulu.
Stanbic Bank. Moving forward.
Even back when I met George, I noticed something different about him. Maybe it was the way people looked up to him, or maybe it was his willingness to always help. He struggled at the start, and today he is a successful bar owner. Despite his success, George didn't forget where he came from. He built friendships with his patrons and learned from them as much as they learned from him. He used his business acumen to help many others achieve their dreams. The fact is, many people owe their success to him. But George never talks about it. He's just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like George,
who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special, you've earned it.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Hi, I've got just 30 seconds to list all the destinations in Africa served by Kenya Airways out of Nairobi. Abidjan, Accra, Addis Ababa, Bujumbura, Cairo, Cotonou, Dakar, Dar es Salaam.
He's never going to make it. Kenya Airways covers 70% of all destinations in Africa alone and several more worldwide. If you're starting from Uganda, there is no rush because Kenya Airways operates the most frequencies every day from Entebbe to the hub in Nairobi. So you can pick up any of these connections at your own convenience.
Johannesburg, Kigali, Kinshasa, Lagos, Lilongwe, Lusaka, Lubumbashi.
Kenya Airways, the pride of Africa.
Sebo, time's up.
Malabo, Mauritius, Mumbai.